The United States has delivered 90 tons of what it calls lethal aid to Ukraine, the first shipment following a new promise of military assistance from President Biden. Moscow has denied it plans to invade. The UN has condemned an airstrike on a Yemen detention centre that has killed more than 70 people. The Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, said the escalation needed to stop. An MP for Britain's governing Conservatives has reported his own party officials to the police, accusing some of trying to blackmail MPs who are seeking to oust the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. A UN official in Tonga says the country will be heavily reliant on food aid for some time, as almost all crops have been badly affected by volcanic ash. Foreign aid is now being distributed.
Saturday marks 1 week since a massive underwater volcano erupted near the island nation of Tonga. Concerns are now growing that volcanic ash could damage the country's agriculture industry. A World Health Organization staff member spoke to NHK from the Tongan capital of Nuku'alofa by telephone. Setoya Yutaro said the situation there is calm, but he said ash is still falling. Setoya indicated other islands are running out of petroleum. He said they may be unable to generate electricity soon. Local journalist Pesi Fonua pointed out food is needed most.
Food and drinking water are now more important than anything else. People are trying to stay safe, and they hope there will be no more eruptions.
Support from other countries has been arriving. A Japanese Air Self-Defense Force aircraft touched down in Tonga on Saturday. It brought about 2,600 liters of drinking water. Japan's defense ministry plans to send 2 C-2 transport aircraft and a transport vessel to the Pacific Island nation. The ministry also intends to deploy the Maritime Self-Defense Force transport vessel, Osumi. Japan's daily tally of new coronavirus cases keeps on rising, driven by the highly transmissible Omicron variant. More than 50,000 new infections were confirmed on Saturday for the first time. Tokyo also reported a new high, topping 10,000 for the first time. That is up more than 1,500 from Friday, and a record for the 4th straight day. Tokyo and 12 other prefectures are into their first weekend since a quasi-emergency took effect on Friday. Tokyo officials are asking bars and restaurants to shorten business hours or stop serving alcohol. This traditional sushi restaurant decided to close by 9 p.m.
I thought, not again. I'm wondering how long I can stand it, to be honest.
Local authorities are pushing ahead with booster shots for seniors. About 600 people received their jabs at this venue in Tokyo.
Infections are rising, so I wanted to get the jab as soon as possible.
We will speed up efforts to get up to full swing and have as many people vaccinated as possible.
The stricter measures are affecting tourist destinations. Ikaho is a major hot spring resort in Gunma, north of Tokyo. Shops and restaurants are open, but the street is quiet.
Things had been picking up until the New Year holidays. But we are now in the midst of a serious situation with the spread of Omicron.
Other prefectures have also requested a quasi-emergency, including Osaka. The government plans to decide on Tuesday whether to expand its measures. The leaders of Japan and the U.S. say they're committed to pursuing common interests and dealing with threats. Prime Minister Kishida Fumio and President Joe Biden held their first in-depth talks since the Japanese leader took office. They say bilateral ties have never been stronger and that they serve as a model for the region and the world.
I proposed hosting a summit of leaders from the Quad Alliance, Japan, the US, Australia and India, in the first half of the year. President Biden agreed.
The online meeting lasted nearly an hour and a half. Kishida says they agreed to work closely on security threats in the Indo-Pacific region, including North Korean missile tests and China's increasing assertiveness. He told Biden that he wants to revise Japan's national security strategy and strengthen its defense capabilities. He says the president reaffirmed America's commitment to protecting Japan, including Article 5 of the Japan-U.S. Security Treaty, which applies to the Senkaku Islands in Okinawa Prefecture. They also agreed to establish high-level talks on economic issues. Biden took to Twitter after the meeting. He referred to the Japan-U.S. alliance as the cornerstone of peace and security around the world. White House officials backed that statement. They said the leaders agreed that the alliance has never been stronger or more necessary. And they say Biden accepted Kishida's invitation to visit Japan. It's been 1 year since the United Nations treaty banning nuclear weapons went into effect. The Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was adopted in 2017 by the UN. It came into force last year. It's the first international accord that bans the development, manufacturing, possession, and use of nuclear weapons. 59 states have so far ratified the treaty, but nuclear powers and nations such as Japan that come under the U.S. nuclear umbrella have not joined the pact. The first meeting of states that are party to the treaty is scheduled for March in Austria. An Austrian foreign ministry official expressed his expectations for Japan to attend the meeting.
It's a decision for Japan to take, for the government to take. Japan is a unique state in that sense because it is the only state in which nuclear weapons have been used. There is a lot to contribute.
Germany, which relies on the U.S. for nuclear deterrence, has showed its intention to take part as an observer. 9 nations that are not party to the treaty have informed the UN that they will take part as observers. Expectations are rising that more countries will follow suit. Survivors of the atomic bombing known as Hibakusha played a critical role in putting the treaty into force. One of them, a man who has been actively involved, says he will continue to call on the Japanese government to join the treaty. A virtual event was organized by a group of university students in Tokyo. Hamasumi Jiro was still in his mother's womb when the nuclear bomb exploded over Hiroshima in 1945. He said he never got to meet his father, who died in the explosion. Hamasumi said he has lived his life always wondering whether radiation from the bomb would trigger health problems. He also said he has had to live with the fear that his children could fall ill. Hamasumi says nuclear powers such as the U.S. should move towards nuclear abolishment.
We want countries to eradicate nuclear weapons to make up for what happened to Japan and the atomic bomb survivors. I continue to call for the elimination of nuclear weapons. That's our goal.
Most of the surviving Hibakushas are over the age of 83. And there are fewer opportunities for young people to connect with them.
Opportunities to listen to Hibakusha's stories are decreasing, so I decided to hold this event. I want more young people to realize this is an existing issue, not something in the past.
The group plans to hold more events in which young people can interact with Hibakusha. Those were the stories for this hour.